Good morning, students. Today we are going to start our second unit of English, that is 8th chapter, which is a poem. The poem name is Time for Everything. Now, in this poem, we are going to study about the importance of time. Now, how we need to divide time in different things and how doing that particular thing in that time is important. सो लाइक कभी कोई टाइम होता है हमारे सोने का, कोई टाइम होता है हमारे खाने का, किसी वक्त हम दौड़ते हैं, किसी वक्त हम काम करते हैं. सो ये काम करने का जो समय होता है, जो टाइम होता है, वो प्रॉपर क्यों होना चाहिए, उसके रिलेटेड ये लेसन में दिया गया है. अभी टाइम पे काम करना बच्चों के लिए भी इम्पॉर्टेंट होता है एंड ग्रोनअप्स के लिए भी. ग्रोनअप्स कौन होते हैं? बड़े लोग. तो ये जो इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ टाइम है वो सिर्फ बच्चों के लिए ही नहीं है, दिस इज़ ऑल्सो फॉर द ग्रोन अप्स. अब ये कौन से समय पे क्या काम करना चाहिए, कौन सा समय किस चीज़ के लिए होता है, दैट ऑल इज़ गिवन इन दिस पोएम. सो लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड विद अवर पोएम.
Time for everything. So firstly, let's read the poem carefully and understand it. There's a time to run and a time to walk. There's a time for silence, a time for talk. There's a time for work and a time for play. There's a time for sleep at the close of day. There's a time for everything you do, for children and for grown-ups too. A time to stand up and a time to sit. But see that the time and actions fit. Now children, let me explain the poem to you. The first line says, there's a time to run and a time to walk. For example, you're taking part in a running race. You all are ready for the race. So, on your marks, get set, go. The whistle blows. What will you do now? You start running because it's time to run and a time to walk. But suppose you just finished your assembly and you need to go to your respective classes forming a straight line. What will you do, children? Yes, you will walk in a straight line as this is the time when you need to walk. Now the second line says, there's a time for silence, a time for talk. Now suppose you go to a library or maybe you visit a hospital to see your relative who is sick. In the hospital, children, you see signboards everywhere which says in bold and capital letters, keep silence. What do you do then? Yes, you will maintain silence and not shout or even talk loudly. So in certain places and at certain situations, you have to keep silence. And a time for talk. Now, if you're being asked a question by someone, then you need to answer them, right? So you will have to talk as this is the time to talk. We go to the next line. There's a time for work and a time for play. This means you have to work when it's time to work, and once you're finished with your work, you can play as this is the time for playing. The fourth line says there's a time for sleep at the close of day. This means that when the day has come to an end and it's night now, then you need to go to bed. You need to sleep. We go to the fifth line which says, there's a time for everything you do. There's a time for everything you do means Whatever you do, it has to be done at the correct time. Whatever action you do, children, it has to be done at the right time. For children and for grown-ups too. That means this is meant for all, for children as well as for the grown-ups. Grown-ups are adults, the elders. An example of grown-up is she has 2 children who are grown-ups. A time to stand up and a time to sit. Now children, if you are in a class and the teacher asks you a question, so you got to answer her, right? Then you stand up and answer the teacher. In the same way, when you sing the national anthem, you have to stand up while singing as a respect for our nation. And a time to sit. But there are times when you need to sit. Suppose you're doing your homework, or maybe you're having your breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So at such time, you will sit down and not roam around or not run around. So you will sit down, do your work, or have your lunch, breakfast, etc. because this is the right time when you have to sit. But see that the time and actions fit. It means whatever you do, it has to be done at the appropriate time, that is, at the proper time. The actions that you do has to go with the right time. So we should make sure, children, that the time and actions exactly fit one another. So hope you all understood the poem. So children, now let's have some fun with the rhyming words from the poem. Rhyming words: walk, talk, play, day, do, sit, fit. So that's all for today, children. Thank you for listening.